नमो महद्भ्यः नमो अर्भकेभ्यः. At the outset, I offer my sincere thanks to the organizers for giving me such a wonderful opportunity to be a part of this session, which is highly dedicated for the great Acharya Sambandha Sivacharya. In fact, I didn't have any kind of close relationship with him. Very often, when I was doing PhD in Vivekananda College, I was very much interested in doing PhD in Shaiva Agamas. Due to various reasons, I couldn't. And finally, one topic was thrusted on me, and I was able to complete it. But my real interest towards agama was just, it was kept in abeyance for some time. Whenever I happened to meet our Shivacharya, that spark starts kindled. But he is as referred by our Mishra and Tirukumaran. You can't see him speaking to someone. Such a dedicated person. In Tamil, there is a beautiful poem. It describes the definition of a dedicated person. One who is deeply drowned in his own duty. In Tamil, it is called Mei Varuttam Para, Pasi Nokar, Kan Tunjar, Karumame Kannayinar. The best example is our Sambandha Sivacharya. I have never heard of him that I am not physically comfortable. In spite of his so much of physical constraint, as rightly pointed out by Tirukumaran, he was able to climb the stairs without the help of anyone. Such a dedicated person, and Pasi Nokar, Kan Tunjar, he didn't even think about his own food and sleep. And if at all we want to give an example for this dedicated person, he is none other than our Sambandha Sivacharya. And I am sure that I am so fortunate enough to associate myself with such a great person's session. That too sitting by the side of the worthy son, Mr. Anandavardhana. I was just associated, I had 2 or 3 meetings with him. One is when Hawaii, Kovai Adinam, they have entrusted the digitization project here. I was a liaison officer between our Sivacharya and them. At that time, I had a detailed discussion with him, especially in analyzing the manuscript, which can be edited first or something like that. Then the second one is, we are planning to bring critical edition of Sahasragama in Bengaluru, Samskrita Padasala. At that time, we seek his help. We have requested him to come and stay for a month or 45 days to train the boys. At that time, I had some kind of what we call conversation with him. And finally, in fact, still I remember, he was completely bedridden. And through his brother, Mr. Arunachalam, he asked me to come and meet him. Some 4 or 5 days after only I could meet him. On that day, in fact, his daughter-in-law was telling, for the past 5 days, he didn't speak to anyone, but he is speaking with you for more than 15 minutes. And all the 15 minutes, he was telling only about the manuscript that they had collected so far. And how many manuscripts that he had handwritten and transcript copy. And he said, why don't you do something to do it? And then immediately he called his son and asked him to take me to the library. And Balasubramaniam took me to that library where he kept all his transcript of this. I was really astonished. And hats off to such a great person. And aptly, he was recognized by French government much earlier than the recognition that he got from our own government. Much earlier to it. He was awarded with Shivali and others. And again, I thank the authorities and organizers, especially Mishra, Tirukumaran and others, for giving me this wonderful opportunity to associate myself with such a great man's, what we call session. It is in the name of the great person. I congratulate our Shaiva Shastra Prachara Sabha. It's a very unique thing. They are the trendsetters. They just, what we call, throw away all these things and they join hands with such a great institution to conduct a seminar, an international seminar like this. I think this is the first time that a kind of Patashala, the traditional school, is joining hands with the institution which is recognized by UGC and setting aside all the inhibitions. They are the real trendsetters to conduct such a wonderful conference. I congratulate all the members, especially Sivanandam. They are doing such a wonderful job, and I request them to continue the same thing. And this is the time for us to prove to the public that there is a value and viability of the views which are expressed in Shaivagamas. This is the time for us, this is the need of the hour. As it is well said by almost all the scholars who have presented a paper here. And there is no doubt. And in fact, I want to make one small, not a correction, it's my suggestion. The Shaivagamas, the basis for the Shiva temple. It is the basic for all the temples. Why you have Shiva temples? It is the basis for all the temples. In fact, if you go through the Marichi's Vimanarchana Kalpa, almost 60% of the work, rather the portion of Kamika Agama is there. See, I didn't say that they are copied. Great men think alike. That is a different issue. But Shaivagamas are the basis for all the temples. If you call it as a temple, then the basis is Shaivagamas. Whether it is a temple dedicated for Vishnu or dedicated for Krishna or dedicated for Subramanya or Muruga, whatever it is, the deity. But if you say that it is a temple, then everything has to be taken source only from Shaivagama. In fact, I wanted to quote Shivapuram Patasala Guru Muralvar, the principal of Shivapuram Veda Agama Patasala. I will just quote his words in one of his Valturai. Recently, a book was published, not recently, probably 1 or 1.5 years back. A book was published, Alaya Amaipu Murai. It was authored by one Somashekara Sivacharya. And for that he had written a very beautiful Valturai. And he very clearly and categorically said, I am just quoting him, Agamapadi Matrum Agamapadi Allada என்ற இரு வகையைச் சேர்ந்த ஆலயங்கள் என்கிற பேச்சுக்கே இடமில்லை. இறைவன் ஆகம வடிவினன். அவன் குடிகொள்ளும் கோவில் என்றால் ஆகம முறைப்படித்தான் அவைகள் இருக்க வேண்டுமே தவிர ஆகம முறைப்படி இல்லாத கோவில்கள் என்ற உணர்தலே தவறு. மிக அருமையாக தெள்ள தெளிவாக சொல்லிட்டார். whatever it is. In fact, few months back I received a photo from one of my students who is residing near Trichy district. He has sent a photo, Ekadala Vimana, but dedicated for the religious head of non-Hindu religious head. Everything is there. You can find all the things. then only on the basis of the extraneous structure, you cannot decide whether this temple belongs to agama culture or non-agamic thing. The extraneous thing is same. It's something like if you want to stitch a shirt, then there is a basic structure. 2 sleeves, shirt, button, etc. Then the pocket, etc. See, this is the basic structure. On the basis of the basic structure, the tailor, with his own creativity, he had made all these things. So if you say as a temple, then it has got all the limbs like Upapita, Adhisthana, Pada, Prastara, etc. Depending upon the creativity of the sculptor and the sthapati, the temple has got different shapes. So mere structure, as recently the Shilpa Shastra. In fact, I wanted to add one more thing with our Subramanya Shivacharya. In fact, we can even go back to Vedas. There is a reference in Rig Veda, if I remember right, it is in the 10th Mandala. The Vedic Rishi asked he just gave a very pertinent question. Kikam Sid Vanam Kausa Vrikshaha. Then, Yasmat Dyava Prithvi Nishtatakshuhu. Very pertinent question. He was asking, the Rishi was asking, what is that forest? And what is that tree by which all these Dyava Prithvi is chiseled out, is curved? So chiseling and curving is known to the Vedic Rishis. And of course you can't find the answer there. You can go to Yajusha, Taitriya Brahmana, there is an answer. Brahma vai tadvanam. Brahma is vana. Brahma eva vrikshaha. Brahma is vriksha. From him, everything was culled out. It was carved out. So the carving and the chiseling art is known to the Vedic Rishis. So we can even go back to the Vedas to find out the concept of iconography starts, and also the Shilpa can even trace to the Rig Veda as early as the Rig Vedic period. So that system is there. As rightly pointed out by our Ganeshan, agama is a complete structure, and all these other shastras are taking different shapes, as rightly pointed out by our Ganeshan, Gita and Natya. There is an exclusive text on Gita. Of course, in which raga it has to be sung, especially Sandhyahvana and Sandhyavahana. And this particular raga has to be sung. Then that raga, you have to go to Sangeeta Ratnagara Sargadeva. Shrotru Chittam Ranjayati iti raga. You have to go there and you have to find out. That Shastra is developed on the basis of agamas. Then what are all the orchestra? What type of vadya that you are supposed to beat? That is there in vadya portion, in the Gita, in the same thing. And Natya, you have to go to Bharata's Natya Shastra. Like that, one portion is Shilpa, that is developed by all the other Shastras, as rightly quoted by our Subramanya Shivacharya. In fact, I just request this August assembly to see the chronology of the iconographical text. In fact, as far as my limited knowledge goes, Brahmiyam would have been the first work on Shilpa Shastra. Then comes Saraswatiya, because in Saraswatiyam there is a sentence, Purvam Uktam Brahmana Parameshtina. Then that Brahmiyam, he says, then when I meditate on Sarveshwara, I was able to visualize, that was the sentence given in Brahmiya. So probably the Brahmiya would have been the first text, then Saraswatiya, then it must be Kashyapiya Shilpa Sutra, because very clearly it was mentioned by Subramanyam that Kashyapa, he in his introductory remark, he says that sir, you kindly teach me what you have done in Amshumat Agama. Anshumanta Tantrat, he very specifically said. Then there is one more pada, one is Rudra Adhikarinam. The other pada is the Kshudra Adhikarinam. The Kshudra Adhikarinam is also one of the Pata Veda in Kashapiya Silpa Sutra. Of course, he had given the complete list when it was published. Even Brahmiyam and Saraswatiyam is incomplete. You can't find the complete text now. Of course, it was published in what we call in the incomplete portion by Saraswati Mahal Library, as the date itself we had very clearly said. So, this is what we call agama is the source. From that, everything has started. In those days, there was only one doctor with MBBS. Now, there are so many specialists, eye specialists and ENT specialists, what not. In fact, it is not going to be a surprise. After some time, there is going to be a special doctor for the right side eye and another one for the left eye. So, it is a development in the field. So, what happened? See, can you ever imagine the Bhu Pariksha and Shila Pariksha without the knowledge of geology? So, it means the Shastric, the agamic text completely contains all the Shastras. In fact, Yad ihasti tad anyatra holds good for Shaivagama than to any other text. You can find everything. In fact, without the, what we call the objective and without the purpose and the value of mercury, if at all it is mentioned in the Shastra, then without the knowledge of metallurgy, how these things are possible? Without the knowledge of Kaupati, which is very recently like allopathy, Kaupati was very recently introduced. But it is nothing but Panchagavya. Probably our one of the research scholar has presented a paper on Panchagavya. And there is a proportion. How these 5 things has to be what we call clubbed together. And there is a beautiful methodology. See, you cannot just mix just like that. You have to chant one mantra. First you have to take the milk. That has to be added with the... See, that combination, it also is so meticulous. See, without the knowledge of the Ayurvedic thing, how a person can write all these things? It is not. In those days, the entire text, as Mundaka Upanishad clearly says, what is that knowledge? Please tell that knowledge, by knowing which I can know everything. Without knowing that, I have, even though I know, I didn't know anything, I am something like an illiterate. So that knowledge is nothing but Shaivagamas. So everything is covered in that, and the scholars has to contemplate more, especially the research scholars has to contemplate more on the different scientific elements. See, as Vivekananda rightly pointed out, we need the brain of rishis and the heart and the hand of the scientist. We need a proper analytical thing. Our approach should be a scientific approach. Very often my teacher used to say, of course we are studying Shiva Shaktya Yukto Yadi Bhavati Shakta Prabhavitam Nache Devam Devaha Nakalu Kushalaha. See, what it leads to a big fight between Shaivik and Shakta cult. Without my Shakti, as if they own their own Shaktis. Without my Shakti, your Shiva is no. What nonsense it is. It is not for, Shankara didn't write for this. You have to analyze in the scientific spirit. Shiva is nothing but a matter. Shakti is an energy. Without the conjunction of matter and energy, you can't expect any kind of activity in this world. That is the scientific explanation. That value has to be understood. See, this is Shiva, the extraneous thing. When the electricity just activates, if at all you want to activate it, it has to be joined with electricity. That is the real intention of Shankara. But it is very unfortunate that it leads to several isms which completely is not going to help us in any way. So now I request in this August assembly, there is so many research scholars are here, and we should have the real knowledge of our rishis with the perspective of a scientist. If you just perceive the object with a scientific eye, then we can bring out so much of hidden treasures in the field of Shaivagamas. In the field, Naraya irukku sir, Shaivagamathil irukku. You bring out the hidden treasures. We are not going to certify any scholars here. Illa the Vedavar வந்து Pythagoras theorem வந்து போதாயன ரிஷியை கண்டுபிடிச்சிட்டாரு. Your certificate is not going to help him. He don't want his certificate. But whether you have understood this, whether you have understood, or have you just brought out to the public, that is our question. So I request a few things that I wanted to share. Of course, I will finish it within the stipulated time as the time given by our Thirukumaran. As it is a very august presence, rather liner scholars are here and research scholars are here, I wanted to place some suggestions here. I request the Saiva Shastra Prachara Sabha to organize such seminars with leading what we call institutions and other universities also, so that we can create a platform to the young scholars here. Everywhere it has to be developed, it has to be brought to the people. Otherwise, it's something like a kind of advertising technology which is used in the modern world. See, we have to compete in the modern world, isn't it? So if at all we want to compete, then the advertising technology is also one of the part of it. So this type of creating a platform for the youngsters to bring out their what we call the ideas and research activities, such conferences are really helpful. So I request them to conduct such things. More, the second one which is always in my mind, see, there is a very beautiful text on Sanskrit literature. Vedic literature is there, classical literature is there, but it is very unfortunate. More than 50% of Sanskrit literature is in agamic and tantric text. If you take the entire Sanskrit literature, nearly 50% of Sanskrit literature are in Shaivagamas and tantric text. But it is very unfortunate, no text on literature speaks more on agama and tantra. Even the recent book, recent in the sense, of course, some 60 to 80 years old, it was written by one Dr. M. Krishnamacharya. It is considered as the best book for history of classical Sanskrit literature, which contains almost all the things, but it is very unfortunate. He also throws very little light on agamic and tantric text. In fact, it has got its own lineage. See, what are all the sampradaya pravartakas? If you take agama, then what are kamika agama, from where it was come down? It was taught by whom? It come to whom? See, that 66 acharyas are there and upagamas are there, but it is very unfortunate, there is no such agamic literature text. There is no agamic texture, authentic agamic literature book is not available. In fact, I request the institute to start a project to write a detailed history of agamic and tantric text, tantric literature, because it covers more than 50% of the Sanskrit literature. You can, what we call, you can see, other than the Upanishadic and the Vedic Upanishadic text, rest of the things are exclusively on agamas, and it is very unfortunate. More than 90% of the agamic texts are still in the form of a manuscript. At least a literature like our MacDonald and others, they have written Vedic literature and classical literature. Very recently written by Dr. M. Krishnamacharya, which contains almost all the things, but very sorry to say that he didn't throw any light on agamic and tantric literature. So the institutes like this has to take some step to bring out the edition which contains exhaustively on the literature which are available in agama and tantra. And next one is, we have already started this project. We should see that all the 28 agama should be in print, should be in book. There are so many people who are just working on it. And in that case, I want to bring a small note here, especially when our Dr. Karthikeya Shivam is here. He can make a common platform, because I am sorry to say, some of the books are printed in 3 different places. The same copy is printed in 3 different places under some pretext or other. Some Manivida Balartham, something like that. See, I didn't find fault with them, but we need a common platform. If at all I wanted to publish something, I have to get consent from Karthikeyan, or we should form a group. See, so that we can avoid repetition. So in the same thing we can publish another book. See, we are not going to waste that. But we can bring more and more editions like that. And another thing is, we need a common platform for agamic students and research scholars and teachers and pathasalas and institutions. So that there must be, see, now the science and technology is developed in such a high way, we can make use of it. And we can form a group so that a person, one who is doing the research in Saivagamas, has to enroll himself in the thing, so that everyone can just, it's something like a portal. It's something like a portal. In technology, it is called a portal. Those who are interested, see, if I am interested in doing Yoga Jagama, editing Yoga Jagama, those who are in that group, if they come across anything such which is connected with Yoga Jagama, can input that. We can create a portal like this, so that it will be of more help for the researcher to do the help. In those days, it was a very difficult task. When I was doing PhD, I have to go here and there to find out. And my guide has given one topic, Alankara Raghava. That Alankara Raghava was available only in Mysore, that too in Kannada script. Then I was just struggling to convince my guide, but unfortunately I miserably failed in that. But fortunately I was able to get through in PhD. That is the thing. So what I am telling is, we have to create a portal so that those who are interested in doing Shaivagamic research can give the input over there. See, these are all some of the things that I wanted to present before this August assembly, and I once again thank the authorities and the scholars who are assembled here to associate myself with this great thing, that too in the name of Shivacharya, and I congratulate all the research scholars who have presented their paper in these 4 or 5 sessions, I believe, and definitely it is going to be published. That's what our Thirukumaran was telling. It was going to be published, all the papers in full length are going to be published. So thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity given to me. Thank you.